In 2012, Mark Zuckerberg financed his $6 million Palo Alto home located 3 miles away from Facebook's headquarters with a 30-year mortgage. At that time, he was 28 years old and the 40th wealthiest person, with an estimated amount of $15 billion. The question is, why would you get into debt when you have billions of dollars? If he wanted, he could have easily bought a dozen $6 million houses in cash without betting an eye. So, why get a mortgage? In 2019, Elon Musk took a $61 million mortgage to buy his properties in California. When I bought my first property, I made sure to pay it full in cash because I was worried about getting into debt. So why do these billionaires love debt so much? When I found this out, I was shocked because the system is rigged. It's not designed to make the average person rich. In fact, it's built in such a way that it's making the average person work hard to make rich people richer. That's why you always see the news suggest new people have joined the billionaires Forbes list. While if you look at news of the middle class, all you see is that credit card debts hit a new record. Student loan debts are growing faster than ever. If you're already a millionaire, please skip this video because you already know what I'm about to share with you. But if you're working hard while not getting rich, then please do yourself a favor and pay attention. Let me start with a very simple question. How much interest would you earn if you deposit your hard-earned money in the bank? You work hard to see $10, $20, or $100,000 in your bank. How much interest do you think the bank is going to pay you? Let's take a look at the top banks in the country: Chase, JP Morgan, Citibank. If you take a look at their savings rate, they pay less than 0.5% for your savings in their bank. Think about that for a moment. As of the time of this video, interest rates are above 5%. Shouldn't the bank pay you like 5% when inflation last year was 8.5%? If you keep your money in a bank, you're literally losing money. The real value of your $100,000 is going to decrease by $8,000, while the exact same bank is going to take your $100,000, turn around and loan it back to you or to someone else in forms of credit card debts and charge you 20% interest. So while you're working hard thinking that you're getting rich, it's the bank that's actually getting rich. So ask yourself this question: who are you working hard for? Yourself, your family, your kids, or the rich guy in Wall Street who runs the bank? Wait a second, aren't there banks that offer a much higher interest rate on your savings? Yes, there are, but there is a catch. They can offer 5, 6, or even 7% on your savings. But the problem is that they are small regional banks, which means is that they can go broke anytime, like the Silicon Valley Bank or the First Republic Bank. So you're left actually with two options. Keep your money in a huge bank like Chase, but get like 0.5% and slowly lose your money. Or you can keep your money in a small regional bank, but risk losing it all overnight. That is why every rich person knows that keeping your money in a bank is a scam. If I were to tell you that banks can create money out of thin air, will you believe me? I mean, if you go out there right now and start a bank, can you legally print money? Technically, you should not be able to do that because that's not fair. But in reality, you can. And I will tell you now how. Every bank in the country, or in fact anywhere in the world, has the right to create money based on how much money people have deposited in that bank. Let's say you deposit your hard-earned $1,000 in JP Morgan. Because of something called fractional reserve banking, JP Morgan is going to take that $1,000, keep it in the safe, and then create another $900 and lend it to someone else. That someone else is going to take that $900 and spend it, which means that that money, one way or another, will end up in another bank or maybe the same bank. The bank is going to again create $810 out of that $900, and that $810 will end up in a third bank or maybe even the same bank. So what's going to happen is that the same money is going to turn around the financial system to the point where it will turn into many thousands of dollars. So what is happening is that the top 1% are creating money out of nothing, while the rest of us are glorifying this piece of paper and wasting our entire lives to make as much of it as possible. That's why Henry Ford once said, if people are going to find out how the banking system works, there will be a revolution before tomorrow morning. That is why fact number 2 is, money is just an illusion. What about the rest of the rich people? Not everyone runs a bank. My dear friend, you don't have to run a bank to make the bank work for you. Let me explain. If you take a look at the US government bonds, they have around 5.5% return rate. The US government bonds are the safest investments out there because if the government won't be able to pay the interest on these bonds, they will just increase the taxes on you. And if you don't pay the taxes, you will go to jail. If you're a rich guy who knows how the banks works, that they create money out of nothing, you go to the bank and convince them to loan you money at a lower rate, let's say 3%. You take that money and invest it in government bonds that have a 5.5% return rate. Pay the 3% back to the bank plus the principal that you have borrowed and keep the rest. Imagine how much money can you make if you make that with $1 billion. And that's exactly what happened in 2020 and 2021. The Fed lowered the rates to 0%, which allowed rich people to borrow money at less than 1% and just invest it in the S&P 500 that had a growth rate of 18% in 2020 and 28% in 2021. While the government distracted you with a $700 stimulus check, the rich guy borrowed $1 billion at 1% interest rate, invested in the S&P 500 and made $280 million. He returned back the principal plus $1 million in interest and kept the rest. He literally made $279 million while you were happy with your $700 stimulus checks. They're making a lot of money just by playing around with the system. This is just one out of many ways that rich people make not just millions, but billions of dollars just by playing around with the system. We went into the details, explaining how the system works in our program, the Intelligent Investing Academy. A wise man once said, if you can't beat them, then join them. You can spend your entire life trying to change the system. You can criticize the system. You can shout as loud as you want, criticizing the system. Or you can master the system by joining our academy. In fact, for a limited time, if you use the link in the description and use the code INVESTNOW, you can get the program instead of $4.99 for just $2.99. But it will expire very soon, so make sure you take advantage out of it. Let me ask you a very simple question. How much taxes do you pay? Who do you think pays like most of the taxes in the country? It's not the top 1%. Most of the taxes are paid by the middle class, the lawyers, engineers, doctors who have like huge salaries. When you know how the system works, not only that you can make money out of thin air, but you can also avoid paying taxes on that. Here's how. Let's say you run a tech startup that is valued at $1 billion because the so-called experts estimate your startup to make a lot of money sometime in the future. Only God knows when that future will come. But today, you're only rich on paper. You don't have any real cash. But that's not a problem because the system is rigged. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg wants to buy this $20 million mansion. What do you think he has to do? He probably needs to sell $20 million worth of his Meta shares in order to be able to afford this mansion, right? Well, that's what a poor person thinks. Do you know how much taxes he has to pay if he sells $20 million worth of Facebook shares? Do you think he wants to do that? I don't think either. But there is a way, because the system is rigged. So instead, Zach is going to go to JP Morgan, borrow $20 million at a super low rate. If you go to the bank and borrow that much money, they will probably charge you like 8, 9, 10 or maybe 20%. But if Zach goes there, because he's in the top 1%, they are going to offer him a 1 or 2% interest rate. So instead of paying millions of dollars in taxes, all Zach has to do is to make a $200,000 payment every year and he has the mansion. The banks aren't just a tool to create money out of nothing, but they're also a tool to avoid paying taxes. Because you don't pay taxes on the borrowed money. That is another reason to join the Intelligent Investing Academy, where you will learn how the system works from inside. When you master the world of the stock market, you will be shocked that the top 1% makes a lot of money without building or creating anything. They are making fortunes just by playing around with the system. If the banks are creating money, if rich people are making money by rigging the system, somebody out there should be paying for all of this. The system cannot exist unless there are like millions of people who are working hard to make the system work. You're right. And let me tell you who is paying for all of that. Have you seen the news that the total credit card debts has crossed $1 trillion? Who do you think owes all of that money? The top 1%? 70% of Americans can't pay off their credit card debts. And your credit card interest isn't like 1 or 2% like these rich people pay. It's more probably like 20%. So if you can't pay your credit card debts today, tomorrow it will only keep growing because of the interest. So 70% of Americans are trapped in this debt cycle where all they have to do is work hard to make their interest payment. And if they skip their interest payment today, tomorrow they will have to work harder. Think of an average American. He has a mortgage, a credit card debt, a student loan debt, a car loan, and so on, which is why 70% of Americans are working hard to make the system alive, which is why you should invest in your education, in understanding how the system works and how to get out of it. Good luck.